For our last lab this term, I'm having you do a very simple, or I'm hoping it's simple, bioarchaeology exercise. Where looking at some images, you're going to, and reading some provided information, you're going to attempt some very basic, straightforward ways of conducting age and sex estimation on human skeletal materials. We're actually going to have you also try to distinguish between human and non-human skeletal materials. And then we want you to make some other interpretations on the basis of the material culture that's present about those individuals in the case that they are human remains. So we've given you a fictional scenario, and this is one of the sites in that fictional, actually that real world area or region of the Elbow River, but with the fictional sites that we've had you look at in other lab exercises this term. And basically the scenario is that while building a new gazebo, some in a cemetery site or a former cemetery of a church, some remains are stumbled across, and they're based on some photographic images and some basic text you've been provided, or some basically a little bit of information about the images that you're presented. You're asked to basically fill out a couple of forms and then write up your assessment of what is going on here and what needs to be done next. So again, this is the background information that we would like you to paraphrase or to summarize in your own words for your introduction for your lab report. We've given you some maps again to provide you some more information about the context of the images that you're seeing. And of course, remember, context is really important for interpretation in archaeology. And then I've given you a bunch of background information. First, on age estimation in human skeletal materials, some useful diagrams for you, and then I've given you some background information on sex estimation as well. So for those of you who've taken courses like biological anthropology or anthropology 209, or even our osteology classic 390, these are simplified versions of the kind of content you'd need to learn there. But really our focus for this particular exercise, because this is an archaeology course, is on interpreting context and material culture associated with skeletal material. So we have some questions for you that we would like you to figure out. So is the bone human or non-human? If it is bone, what material culture is present? Again, age and sex estimation for human individuals. In some cases, if there's multiple images or multiple individuals represented in a single feature, we want you to attempt to figure out how many are there, describe a little bit about the position of the individual, and then finally talk about what grave goods are present. And the way you're going to do this is you are going to look at the images that have been provided to you in the feature images, and you'll see that there are three features. So this is the first one here, feature A, and you can see this is a drawing of the remains that were found, as well as some information about it. Oh, I'll just note that this, you can see this is actually a really great map, although it's quite simple. We have a scale telling us something about the size. We have a north arrow telling us something about the position of the remains. This is still feature A, but now this is an image and some notes about the material culture that was found in association with the remains. Again, some additional material culture as well, including some information about the context of this material culture. This is feature B. Again, we can see a scale. We don't have a north arrow, unfortunately, in here, but we do have a little bit more information about these remains. And then finally, we have feature C. Again, another drawing, a scale bar, a north arrow, some notes, and then some material culture associated with the remains here and some descriptions. Okay, so for each of these features, feature A, B, and C, you're going to need to fill out one copy of this burial record form. So feature A will have one form, feature B will have another form, and feature C will have another form. So 3 forms total. And then you're just going to go through for each of these forms and fill it out. So are there bones? Yes or no. If the bones are human, yes or no. If the bones are non-human, then you just stop there. Again, what kind of bones are they? You can try to figure it out. Hint, if they're non-human, you might want to revisit your zoo archaeological materials and take a quick look and see if you can identify possibly what kind of non-human animal they are. Then for the human remains, you need to fill out the rest of this. So some cases, it's just going to be a check mark. So if it's a single burial, you'll put a check mark. If it's a multiple burial, you'll put a check mark there. If it's a multiple burial, I'd like you to estimate the minimum number of individuals. For estimating M&I for human skeletal remains, it's the same as you did for the zooarchaeology exercise. So a little bit of review there. Position of the skeleton, so extended. So this is usually where an individual, again, is at a full length, again, extended lying down. Usually they're going to be on their back, on their stomach, or their side. A flexed position, think about this as like fetal position, potentially kneeling. And then other can be if none of these terms seem to describe it. Get disturbed. Spoiler alert, you know that they're disturbed a little bit because of the construction that found the remains. But if there's any other signs, please try to make note of that. Estimation of sex. So you'll want to review, again, how this is done, mention what traits you were used, and then circle what your response is, recalling that in biological anthropology, we have 5 sex categories that we use in our estimations: male, probable male, ambiguous, probable female, and female. Age, you're going to just do a broad category based on the handout notes above, and then say what traits you are. And then you're going to describe the grave goods here. So you're going to provide a count and some sort of description. You're then going to use all of this information in your discussion questions that you're going to be doing. So you'll provide, again, this paraphrased introduction where you're talking about what you do. We want you to also provide a clear statement of your results. Then you're going to provide your 3 copies of the burial record form. Then you're going to do a discussion where you're going to summarize your interpretation about each feature in paragraph form, right? So basically, what did you see and what you think they are? And then we want you, in your discussion, is to make an argument for whether or not the human burials belong to the historical cemetery. So the key hint for this is that we want you to use the material culture that's found in association with the remains to support your position. Then in your conclusion, you'll restate that position, whether or not the features are burial, if the feature burial belongs to the cemetery, and then we want you to make a recommendation on whether or not the site requires additional archaeological work. So again, this is applying everything you've learned this term to determine what the best course of action is. Any references you use, including those that are cited in this handout for age and sex estimation, you must provide in your written report as well. And then for acknowledgements, there's no marks for this, but Dr. Prince and I want to emphasize that if you are collaborating with classmates, that you need to acknowledge who you have partnered with. And then I've provided the references for the materials above here for you, so you can copy and paste those into your reference section. So if you have any questions about this exercise, please don't hesitate to contact Dr. Prince or myself. Take care, everyone.